Welcome to MyPersonalFootballCoach.com's Soccer Player Development Podcast. Discover all the secrets, hints and tips about soccer player development and soccer coaching from some of the leading figures in world soccer. Here's your host, Saul Isaacson Hurst.
Hello guys, welcome back to another show for another coaching family special. Proud to have my good friend and colleague Glen Hicks. Glen, how you doing, mate?
I'm very well, thank you, mate. Just managing the cold like all of us coaches out there at the minute in the UK. It's bitter, but apart from that, all good.
Exactly. Anyway, so this show, we're going to talk about, the match winners and the Mavericks. Are they a dying breed? Are we, looking at a situation where there's less and less game changers, less and less number 10 type players who can come in and do that? What's your thoughts on that, Glen?
Yeah, to answer the question bluntly, first of all, and go from there is, yes, I think they are. And I think when we watch the Premier League, I think they are. I think there's fewer and fewer. So my first answer would be yes. And then I'm looking and going, okay, so what are we doing about that? What are we coaching now to change that trend and hopefully keep developing the likes of Phil Foden and Jude Bellingham and the match winners or Trent, like against Arsenal the other day? So what are we doing to make sure the next 5-10 years as youth developers, we continue having the special players, the ones that we'd all pay to go and watching that? So in short, yes, mate, I think they are a little bit of a dying breed based on what we're not seeing in the games at times.
Yeah, it's funny because we were talking about what, we're having a long discussion about what to call the show or like what's the theme of the show is. And I said I was lucky enough to have another meeting with my good friend Miguel Rios, who's used to work at Arsenal and Brentford and Watford, top scout player recruitment guy. And he said as well, like, there's not that many technicians anymore in the game. You're looking at, in the development phase, there's less and less technicians. And, I suppose that goes into that, isn't it? And I said, it's at the death, you see less and less number 10s, and why is that? Do you know what I mean? And I was thinking about, and the reality is, English football, look at the Premier League, very much based on athleticism now. There's less and less of those players who might have, been, like you said, the Mavericks, who maybe, lack a bit of physical, athleticism, that speed, but they had the speed of thought and it could do something off the cuff maybe. But less and less of those players. I think see less of those, but also I think it's just a general lack. I think that's the other day. It's just like, I had a conversation with a parent when I was coaching, and I said the same thing. It's like, it's crazy. You're in a situation where, even in first team football, but, in young academy football as well, these young players are expected to change games, these match winning moments, and they beat a player and they go through and they shoot that sort of thing, but they're not really given that many opportunities to practice it. Do you know what I mean? And it's a bit nonsensical. You know what I mean? And so yeah, I think there is lack, and a lot of people say that, and maybe it's the changing nature of the game at the highest level, whether that's filtering down, and you're seeing that more and more in academy football and development phase, and whether it's just I spoke to my friend the other day, one who works at one of the top academies in London. He said, unfortunately, 12s, 13s, 14s, 15s up, they're just trying to replicate the first team, their mini first team, and they're just all about positional play and tactical analysis, which is good in the elements, but you still got to remember you got to develop these players and give them freedom to play. So maybe I think it's a combination of many of those things.
Yeah, I think so. The point you made there, Saw, about, because obviously everyone looks at the TV and watches Pep Guardiola and this obsession with a certain style of football and pass, and lots of organisation and order and positional play. But what they forget is to have Bernardo Silva in that system and be one of the best functional players in what Guardiola wants. He had to go through the education that he had in Portugal and loads of 1v1s and loads of mistakes on the ball and actually getting beat up physically and actually not even really performing by the sounds of his career when you hear him saying about he got rejected for being too small and stuff. And it's hard unless we can document that and put that in a video and people can look and say, well, actually, this is what youth football should look like. I really do think that's having a big problem at the moment. So is over coaching and over organisation. If you over organise something to the meticulous, and everyone goes, yeah, meticulous to detail, but the more details you're giving players, and the more order and organisation, the less opportunity I believe there is for creativity. So, and I think that's a really important thing as well, is knowing when do we literally just have to encourage a player to dribble, go stay on the ball a bit more, whether they crash or they succeed. I think we've got to strip it back a bit to the raw. Again, get it a bit nearer to the streets, mate. And the countries that are still producing these Mavericks and number 10s, like culturally it always has been and still is, the South Americans like Luis Diaz. I'm watching for Liverpool the other night, so I think the guy's a match winner. He's a maverick. He's a special type that's only going to get better, because a lot of it is personality as well. You know, he's clearly got the courage and the audacity to go and do this stuff. And yeah, I think it starts and finishes with coaching, and whether that's coaching less and encouraging certain stuff more. But yeah, I think we're the guardians of the game, aren't we, mate? Because everything's
in
this country.
I think you still coach. You know what I mean? You can still coach, which is what you coach, isn't it? It's what you choose to coach, whether you're more, individual based or you're more team based. And what I mean by that, you're looking for individual outcomes or you're looking for the team outcomes. You know what I mean? So, you're setting a session, okay, well, I want to try and get lots of, 1v1 outcomes, lots of attacking. Don't mind lots of mistakes, because that's how, I understand it's what the process of the player's learning is. Or I'm saying, right, actually, I'm setting this team. I just want to set my team up now. I've got half an eye on the game on the Sunday, that sort of thing, and then that's, you know what I mean? So it's both things of coaching, isn't it? It's just one, it's just whatever, how you get on. And that's almost the issue, isn't it? I had a conversation with another mutual friend of ours. And the other day he said, that's a difference, if you're in an individual coach, maybe, you don't have your team hat on, so you can go in there and just work with the players, in those team environment, when you're not necessarily worried about the game on the weekend in terms of what the team looks like. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's the issue, isn't it? There's so many, going back to the point my friend of ours, said about the 12s, 13s, 14s, 15s, 16s, everyone's trying to replicate the first team and the way they play. And that's fine now, they talk about the game being a positional play and like a game of chess, but the problem is that, where does you almost need the chaos, don't you? Like, the Mavericks, those number 10, those players need the time and the freedom and the space and the chaos, to go and experiment and see what they can do, right?
Yeah, that's the key thing as well. Because if everything's so perfectly in place at young ages, you're right. How if we're looking for a skeleton key player, I like to call them, or somebody that is going to unlock a rigid defence, because under 18s or first team they're going to bank up after being 1 and 2 up. Well, actually, if they're going to come up against the most difficult problems, if we haven't created that intentionally sometimes, where you've got a problem, go and solve it, and we don't keep giving them all the solutions, or we don't really get people too organised, it's like, well, how are they ever going to solve the problem? Do you know what I mean? And I agree you've got a coach, but it's right what you said. It's nailed it. It's what are we coaching? What are we coaching and what are we encouraging? And what are we discouraging? Because sometimes by saying, let's say for a winger, I keep telling him just get on the line. Well, why are you going to tell him keep getting on the line? The fullback might be really weak on the inside. There might be a great pocket. But again, if you're coaching instructions, you know what? This lad, you're definitely quicker than him. So, of course, take him on the outside if you want. But imagine if with your speed, you actually get on the inside. Instead of being in a crossing position now, you're going to be in a goal scoring position, like an inverted winger. Can you start a bit more on the inside? Just mix up your move. But there's still kind of encouragement there. There's a framework to work from, but there's still a bit of freedom instead of just like, you're here, do you know what I mean? Again, it's coming away from that rigid kind of instruction-based coaching or top-end stuff and just having a bit more flexibility. And I think positions, so don't narrow things off, because if we're going to get a Franz Beckenbauer, who, by the way, is a match winner, in my opinion, he's a match winner. He was a match winner. When the players at the top end, the Gert Mullers and that, couldn't score the goals, he would drop a shoulder, change the gears, go through the lines, play a 1-2 and do everything a number 8 or 10 or a midfielder could do. He obviously didn't do it as much because he wasn't needed as much. But even with that, why not, let your players dribble out from the back from time to time? If there's no other passing options on, if there's no predictable play on, do you know what I mean? Yeah,
it's interesting, isn't it? Like, yeah, it's like what's the onus? And I always this whole story. I remember my first year at Chelsea, the under-10s, Jamal Musiala was in that age group, unbelievable age group with so like Tino Livramento's in there, loads Blue Bait, Levi Cole, anyway, loads of top players. But anyway, I remember like a lot, when the senior coaches there saying, guy, he's a good player, but he just dribbles too much. You've got to get him to pass more. And I was just thinking, why why would you want to do that? And I say to him, just go and do what you got to do. It's the same thing, isn't it? It's like, I think there's like just a fallback thing. It's like, how do we, how do the coaches, I mean, is it impatience, or is it maybe just, the way I recognize improvement or success is seeing the game and the team and the result on the weekend. It's the same thing as anywhere, isn't it? It's the same as like, on when you watch, the Premier League, and the team plays out from the back, they score a great goal, wonderful goal, and then they make a mistake playing out from the back. Why are they playing out from the back? This, it's ridiculous. It's, why are they taking risks? Same sort of thing, isn't it? It's like people have this real short-termism. They've got to understand, actually, it's a long-term picture, right? Especially when talking about youth development, you want, players to have a bit of time and really, doesn't matter if, we win or you lose. It's about who's got the best players, who's got, like you say, those. And if, surely, I mean, that's what you want, right? As an academy, the most. I mean, you want to produce all sorts of players, but surely the priceless things are producing those mavericks, those ones who can do the special things and, create something and unlock the defenses.
Yeah, and if you look at the top end, so everyone goes, yeah, the top end, but okay, if you're going to replicate Guardiola or, Ange Postecoglou's had an incredible transformation at Tottenham, for example, where it was probably a football club where 12 months ago we didn't have a number 10 in the building, and it was known. And the way Conte played was very pragmatic, a little bit different. It was quite controlled, go around the sides, put cross in. It was quite predictable in the end. But Postecoglou's gone the other way. It's like, how many number 10s or players with that capacity matchwinners can I shoehorn in? Whether it's Bentancur, Bissouma, Maddison, all three players there, for example, and even young Pape Sarr, they can take the ball in any situation. 1v1, player at their back, all the stuff we talk about. 1v1 rodeos, player on your back, hang on your hips. They can run through players. Bentancur's good at dropping a shoulder and going 20, taking the ball 20, 30 minutes. They've all got a final pass. They can chip in with goals. Then you've got the fullbacks playing similar. They're coming in more like it's not really an inverted midfielder, is it? Fullback. It's just they're coming inside the pitch and they're playing with midfield attributes. So it's almost like they've totally transformed their game. But if you're looking at that, you have to ask yourself, coach backwards then. Okay, so that's the attributes that Bissouma's got. How do we get there? And go back to him being an under 9 and say, what has he got to go through? Well, actually, look, he is receiving the ball with a player tight up his backside, like really tight, even in the Premier League. So give it into the kid. And when he don't quite get it right, don't stop. Don't look at the outcome. Look at the intentions. What are our intentions here? What is our purpose to try and get stuff into this kid, not coach get it or discourage it kind of out of him? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So, going back to that, why is the reason why we're seeing less of these sorts of players, and also I think all the other way, I look at the other way sometimes. We look at, like, people often say that, there's no number 10s, but I always say, like, Guardiola really plays with 2 number 10s. Do you know what I mean? It's just the 10s need to have the attributes of an 8. They need to work off the ball a lot harder, but you need the attacking qualities of a 10. You look at De Bruyne and, Bernardo Silva. There's probably 2 of the best 10s in Europe. Do you know what I mean? To forward technical players in Europe. Foden as well, the players who can play that way. It's just maybe that now the game demands that you do so much more off the ball, right? But then I suppose that's maybe why there's less maybe those special players. I always remember this. I was thinking about this morning actually, because we said we're going to chat, and I always remember going abroad, like with Chelsea and Tottenham, on tournaments with young teams, and you go see Benfica or Ajax, and the boys would come over all the other teams from the other countries come over and say, "Oh, who's your number 10?" Do you know what I mean? Who's the number 10? Do you know what I mean? They'd be like, he's number 10. It'd be like he was the special player. Do you know what I mean? It'd be like, he's the playmaker, isn't he? He's the one, And the boys go, who's wearing a number 10 for the tournament? And it was, I remember that it's really poignant going across Europe, being that. And I suppose it's changed, isn't it? Because there's change. But that's my point, kind of subject there, is thinking that maybe that, because now everyone's playing with 2 8s, and what that demands, your Raquelmes of this world, maybe there's no place for that player there. It's just, that maverick who's, what player, by the way, who can just, nonchalantly bowl around, nutmeg, that's just, create havoc, but not just, it doesn't fancy running back that much.
And a player, Saul, that can be out of the game for a long time, like a Harry Kane.
Yeah.
So for me, Harry Kane's got a number 10 on the back of his shirt. And what we mean, so you've got number 10 in terms of the number on the back of the shirt. Yeah, you have. And, but you've also got number 10 in terms of the area on the pitch. But for me, the most important is the number 10 in terms of the attributes and the qualities, isn't it? So Harry Kane, for me, is a number 10 if he wants to be. He could spend his whole career playing in between the lines and he'll figure it out. All right, he might not be as twisty and turny as a Bernardo Silva, but his link-up play, his first touch play around the corners, his combination, he's shooting from long range like a Yaya Toure when he stepped in at number 10. But for me, what they all have in common, whether you're going to go and be a 10 like Yaya Toure and destroy the Premier League for 2 seasons, get 20 goals and a lot of your shots being from outside the box, and you're like that powerful, like a Jude Bellingham. For me, what Ancelotti's done with Jude Bellingham is phenomenal. He has looked at this kid and said, right, you are so good. I'm going to build this team to just get the best out of you. A bit like Guardiola built his Barcelona team to get the best out of Messi. It's like, you guys are all kind of like background dancers for this gentleman here, right? We're going to get the best out of him. And they're different. They're still different in terms of profile. They're different players. So Jude Bellingham is a different kind of number 10 when he plays 10 to Foden. But what they've all got in common, Saul, and I think this is the most important thing, and this is maybe it's the hardest thing to coach, but I think you can. It's the stuff on the inside, the immeasurable stuff, the stuff that the stats can't. It don't matter how many passes you make. Did you make the one pass? Like for me, I really like him. Bruno Fernandes, right? He infuriates a lot of people. But for me, he belongs in a Manchester United shirt. He is a special player. Why? Because if you go and look at the stats like Harry Kane, so you said something a minute ago, Saul, about do they dribble too much? What does that mean? Harry Kane takes more shots than anyone every single season without foul. Go and check the stats. If he's not the first, he'll be in the top 3 with Salah. And it's not a coincidence. The guy that takes the most shots scores the most goals. Bruno Fernandes, for the last 5 years, even in a poor Manchester United team, has been right at the top. So we talk about stats with attempted final third passes, through balls, most touches in the penalty box, goals, assists. But he's also been top a couple of the seasons with fouled passes. So his percentage pass completion was quite low. But why? Because there's a high risk. And it's the personality Saul they've got, isn't it? The thing they all share for me is the character, the temperament, the personality to say, I'm not going to pass the buck today. I'm going to pass the ball, but I'm going to try and win us the game. Like, it takes personality and character to be it. And I just feel in the Premier League, Saul, why I feel so passionate is there's not enough people doing that. They're all passing the buck. They're all scared to miss the cross or scared to miss the shot. There's not all of them, because you've still got your Luis Diaz's and your Fodens and the ones we spoke about. So we've got to coach a bit of arrogance in the players and stop telling them it's too much dribbling. Tell them it's not enough dribbling sometimes. The kid that's got to score goals, it ain't technical. Sometimes they've just lost the confidence to miss, and just tell them to shoot more, and they might surprise us.
What's happening, guys? Hope you're enjoying the show. Just a quick note to say, check out the new My Personal Football Coach Virtual Academy Club Next Gen, complete technical development program for you to train wherever you are in the world. We've got technical sessions, tactical sessions, mindset, S&C physical sessions, and some tips how to get scouted. So if you're a player or a parent of a player, want to really support your player, have some extra quality, world-class training wherever you are in the world, check it out now. The My Personal Football Coach Virtual Academy Next Gen Club. Follow the info in the bio. You can sign up directly in the app. Enjoy. Now back to the show. Well, I think that's also, goes back to the development, doesn't it? What sort of players are you recruiting? What sort of players are you looking for? What sort of the qualities? But then obviously, what's the coaching program? I heard this, someone talking the other day about, is there too much dribbling in academy football? I thought, wow, it's like, have we really forgotten, where we were, where we come from? But also, it's just missing the point. It's not about dribbling. It's about players, being able to stay on the ball if they want to stay on the ball. They make that decision, but they want to make the decision. You empower the players, right? But because that's the problem. You have too much, pass, 1-2 touch, 1-2 touch, rondo play, which is all right to a certain extent. But you don't let players express themselves and freedom on the ball. That's when you're going to have the problem. That's when you're going to have to know the people that mavericks. I get a lot when I travel and I go and do, conventions around the world. I'm lucky to travel around the world and do conventions in several countries. Yeah, I'm really lucky to do that. But I'll go and do some 1v1 practices, and I watch other practices will be like, a possession practice, which is good. I use possession practices in all my team sessions, but I always do them 1v1. But you do a 1v1 session and suddenly, whoa, hang on, players are so used to being overloaded in practices, suddenly they've got to make a decision themselves. They don't like it. They're not used to it. Or even even they're underloaded. It's like they can't handle it. And that's the difference. That's where you've got to look at your technical program and think, right, are we really challenging the players? Is it balanced enough, giving them experience? Because you talk about players at the highest level, they're not overloaded. They're underloaded all the time. They're used to playing underloading and keeping the ball. So that's the big problem as well in terms of how we coach players. Everything, there's too much game-based stuff. It's too much possession stuff, which is all, I'm not saying don't use it. I'm saying, but you need a balance. You need to work on the technique. You need the individual possession stuff. You need to have your 1v1s in there, your 2v2s, your 2v1s, your 1v2s, all that sort of thing. Because if you don't, that's what's going to happen. You're going to produce a generation of steady eddies. Everyone's just looking to pass it square and break it down. Where, if you've got somebody who can impact, someone who's brave enough, those street football qualities, they're the ones who are going to break the game down, right?
And I would say, so as well, it's a great point, man. And I would say as well, so it's a bit like if you put your teaching hat on and, you've got to meet every learner's needs and learner plans and all this and assessment of learning, assessment for learning, all that, right? I think the hardest player to meet their needs is sometimes anyway, for a lot of coaches, is the very most talented and the best player in the group. Being able to stretch the kid that's a 9 out of 10 and you've got to tip him like to a top end where no one's ever seen this level before kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like the very best. Whether that's your very best player in your grassroots team or very best in a more advanced elite environment like academy. And it's like you say, yeah, let's pass the ball tonight. That's fine. We can do rondos. Even the dribblers have got to work at their passing. But it's a case of, are we stretching them? Are we improving the capacity of the player? well, actually, if we didn't do no dribbling tonight, the kid that could be a sensational dribbler like Bernardo Silva or a Messi or a Foden, we're doing them a disservice, and it's that then does become a fault of the coaching. Do you know what I mean? And like you say, you might, even if you chuck 10 minutes in and go, do you know what, we are doing a dribbling session and it is 1v1, but on the kid who can go past every player in your group 1v1, just make it a 1v2. Just chuck two in there, just chuck three in there, make it a mess, give him a different starting position and cage him in with 3 players around him and make it absolute chaos. And he'll probably flick it over their heads like Neymar. And all of a sudden, he's enjoying it, he's stimulated. But that's not for everyone, Saul, because players naturally, even at a young age, we know that there are players that want to be the stoppers and love playing at the back because they're quite negative in their way of thinking, quite pragmatic. You've got your wizards, your warriors, and your workhorses and everything in between, right? No, but you know what I mean? It's true. The wizard is going to be a wizard. The warrior, the Henderson is going to be Henderson. And he's not going to be Phil Foden. But you've still got to allow Henderson the opportunity to see if he's got the odd drop of the shoulder. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but also, but it's also that. It's also that, and it's like, you know, for example, he's a Henderson. To play at the highest level, you still be able to get on the ball and stay on the ball with composure. And that's what traditionally English players haven't done well enough. Now, obviously, we have a generation of players who are technically much better, but you've got to be able to do that. So, you know, if you're constantly just doing overloaded games, possession games, where you can always find a pass, you're not stressing the player enough. Even you've got that stopper, the big stopper. I'm sorry, if you're at a Champions League club, that's just not enough. You've got to be good enough on the ball. Do you know what I mean? Because you're again doing this service. You've got to challenge him, say, okay, can you step in? Can you break a line? Can you then play forward? So you need to support them players, you know, and, you know, maybe it's about taking them out of those situations and doing a bit of, you know, concentrated work into developing those techniques. And like we say, you know, understand, look, I don't expect my stopper to, you know, be like a Luis Diaz or like an Mbappe. Of course not. But I'm going to teach him how to break pressure a safe side. I'm going to teach him how to break, you know, to have a big positive first touch, to break lines into 1-2 drive in both sides and spray passes, that sort of thing. So you break down the techniques for each game. Obviously, we're talking about older players, and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We need to support these players, because it's not, you know, then you get to the point where say, well, hang on, oh, you know, sorry, you're not getting a contract. Technically, you're not proficient enough. Yeah, but well, you know, it's been, you know, one of the top players in the academy all the time. So I think there's not enough of that. And I think that, you know, that's in terms of, that's also a reflection of the general, you know, coaching perspective we have now in terms of, you know, well, we're not doing any sort of individual technical work. Everything's in the game. So you either develop it or you don't develop it. So I think it's got to be more of a balance and frustration. And I think that's the key. I had this conversation the other day. I said, you know, every Champions League club should aspire to develop a Champions Ballon d'Or players, because we had this conversation with a friend of mine. You know, every Premier League club should have Project Ballon d'Or. I'm talking about the big clubs here. You know, the big six, whatever you like. And then someone said, "Oh yeah, but what, you only want to, you know, develop 7s or 10s?" So no. You know, you could be like
a Ballon d'Or winner.
Yeah, twice. You know, Cannavaro. Do you want that as well? But you want to be world class in every position. Your keeper's got to be world class on the ball now. So that's the challenge. That's what I'm saying. Every mindset should be right. Every player needs that quality. If he doesn't have it, fair enough. But I'm not going to say, oh, can't develop it. I'm going to say, look, this is what you've got to do better. You know, you want to play at highest level. This is what you'll be able to, like, break pressure, you know, cut safe side either way, bring it down, protect, break lines, play forward. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I said, like those workhorses, they talk about, not doing Jordan Henderson disservice, by the way, because he's played massive highest level, isn't it? But you talk about those industrial, you know, like they used to call them water carriers in the back of the day. Like, that's it, right? He's got the engine, but let's give him the bit of the finesse as well. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I think we don't do enough. Is that, you know, let's just do his strengths. So we'll do his weaknesses as well.
Absolutely, and all them players, so all the greatest teams. So even you look at Puyol's role when he was in that great Barcelona team. He's a warrior. He's a warrior and a workhorse. Yeah,
exactly.
But he never used to try and drop his shoulder. He'd just go, PK, take that, or Alba, quick, take this as quick as you can. I'll give it to you. Busquets. He had so much around him, or even Valdez. Valdez could probably pick a better pass. So he goes, Victor Valdez, you have that. I've got it back for you. I've done my job. I've gone and retrieved the ball. Yeah, you go and play the next pass. And then you've got, you know, you can go for every team. I remember that Milan team. Do you remember talk about match winners, Saul? Do you remember Kafka, Seedorf?
Yeah.
You could go through the whole team, right? They had Gennaro Gattuso, like the biggest terrier. He was an animal at times, wasn't he? The guy?
Yeah.
But I still think if you Google Gattuso highlights, there'll be moments where he got a little bit of skill to get him out of trouble. But why didn't he do it a lot? He just passed it to Kaká. You know, he's got all these players around him.
Oh, yeah.
So they're going to end up being what they're going to be, Saul. But like you said, we've got to give them all the opportunity, because I think this is not a disrespect to centre-backs. when you're talking about the top end, and even at grassroots level, some of the best, if you went and watch a semi-pro team, I bet you the best centre-half in your local non-league team, I bet if you asked him where do you play, like if you're talking about football in centre-half and play a bit and go, bloody hell, you're a good player, like play at that level, I bet they'll turn around and go, yeah, I was at Chelsea as central midfielder when I was up until like 19. So it's almost like you sometimes end up as a centre-back by default anyway, like we spoke about before with the likes of Rio Ferdinand and them, but they was clearly playing in a midfield role or a more advanced role that was allowing him to develop the confidence on the ball and to become pressure-proof players. Because for me, like Franz Beckenbauer, so whether you're Franz Beckenbauer or Wayne Rooney, I think you can put these guys, of course, if they've got the physical attributes as well, in almost any position on the football pitch. Why? Because they have the intelligence of a number 10 or these Maverick players. I think Franz Beckenbauer, if he wanted to, could have been a central midfielder and been the best. I mean, like more advanced, like not just a libero or a holding. Do you know what I mean? Probably could have been a number 10.
Yeah, listen, you talk about, that Milan team. Like you talk about Baresi, a bit of that. Baresi, Cafu, Nesta, Maldini. Talk about, match winners. Just that's like, that's, we're going to be a bit of a subject, but like let's talk about world class, those players, going to be in your Ballon d'Or list, aren't they? Those top world class players. But I've got a bit of, I don't know what we're talking about. I've got a bit off task, but I think the key is that
Mavericks and match winners.
Exactly. I'm saying, like, in terms of our academy, the way we're teaching players and coaching players, I think that's what we got to look. I mean, is it now that the football at the highest level is just really pragmatic? Do you know what I mean? It is less. We're saying that, because we've seen some games, that the City and Arsenal games, and Arsenal have been a bit more pragmatic this year. I think, I heard a good podcast this morning, talking about how maybe they're not as excited or attacking as they were, or the fluid attacking. But then you look at, like, say, you mentioned Spurs. I mean, the Spurs, Ange was big Ange. He's been sensational, isn't it, in terms of like his approach to the game, and like you say, like playing a lot of attacking players. So still is there's still room there, isn't it? I suppose for those those Mavericks in there.
Definitely, and I think he's only just started, mate. I don't think he's even really got his teeth into it properly and got all of his players that he wants. But for me, Maddison was a bit of a statement because, and people might go, yeah, well, he's not as good as Maddison is a terrific footballer, and he's probably still, even though he's had a couple of months out, he's still right near the top of assists and stuff. And it's just the profile of the players. So you've now got 11 ball players, including Vicario, where it's just flipped itself upside down from Conte, isn't it? And it's about the attitude on the ball. And of course, all the players need the technical tools and stuff. But the young lad, Udogie, he's just looking like he's getting better and better every time. 20 years old. He's probably been the most consistent left back. But can he get forward and chip in with goals? Yes. So there's some match winning attributes. He's getting down the outside and getting crosses in. He's coming into midfield. And again, you look at Porro and Udogie, for example, and they're so young. There's so much more to come. So it's actually more exciting about, okay, what else is he going to unearth out of them? Bentancur, I think once he avoids injuries, he's only going to get better in the Premier League and take it by storm, because he's such a graceful, elegant footballer, isn't he? In terms of, well, again, can just do a bit of everything in that midfield area. But there's other clubs and other teams as well. I think it's really refreshing, Saul, to see what Brighton are doing with their young players as well. But then I looked at Brighton the other day when they were playing, because it was a bit pass, and I actually looked at them in one of their games. I think it was where Welbeck was up front. They had that Bonanotte, but I thought, are they maybe missing a number 10? Because now there are people getting used to Brighton. Are they going to sit off a little bit more, and they're going to need that little bit more skill? Do you know what I mean? That little drop of the shoulder, that little Phil Foden moment, or do you know what I mean? So I think there's a need for it. There's a need for it in every team. And let's just be honest as well, more than anything, Saul, if you're watching a group of under 10s or under 7s, it's just more enjoyable to watch. It's more enjoyable to play. I'm sure kids now, if you ask them, would you rather lose 3-2 today, but you've had 50 touches of the ball and you've all really had a go at this game and really attacked it and gotten the ball and played in an enjoyable way? Or would you rather win 3-2, lumping out the pitch? And so it becomes an enjoyable element as well. We can't forget about that. Like, I enjoy watching Tottenham as much as any other team this season. Do you know what I mean? And last year, it was painful to watch as well, wasn't it? So, it's got that entertainment and that enjoyment.
What about so in terms of like a coach, coach development, putting our coach development hats on, it's coaching podcast, and how do we restore the balance? How do we make sure that you give these Mavericks, these game changers, the time to develop and express themselves?
I would say just keep, because we all have to do it from time to time, keep checking your coaching values. What are your beliefs? Like, what do you really believe in? And the ultimate test is you'll show what you believe in when the game comes on Sunday, because it's not just a test or an extension of their training for the young people. It's a test of us as coaches, isn't it? So because Monday to Friday we give it, yeah, brilliant, don't worry if you lost the ball, but then Sunday, because there's 3 points on it and all that other nonsense that's around the game, parents screaming around the outside, do we change our values, or do we keep allowing them to do the same stuff they were doing in training Monday to Friday as they can do at the weekend? So I think that's the main thing is you've got a set of beliefs. Like, again, I keep going back to Big Ange, but I think in terms of beliefs and values, he showed it more than ever when they went down to 9 men. People saying it's suicidal against Chelsea, but I thought, wow, if ever a coach has shown a big pair of cojones in the Premier League and said, no, we're going to do it with 9, 10 or 11 men, mate.
Almost won it as well.
Yeah, and it was so there was 2 inches away from getting a draw. Dyer 2 inches offside.
Yeah.
Even to get that draw, it's sensational effort. All right,
yeah, sensational.
Concede a few goals, but so I would say the main thing is your own philosophy and beliefs and convictions. Keep checking them, and when you resort to, because it's 1-1 in the last minute, I'll just kick it out of the pitch. Well, are you going against your beliefs? Do you really believe it, or do you just say you believe it? I think that's a key thing, really.
Yeah, and also, if you say, right, what are the attributes of the game changer, of those mavericks? What do they do well? They're creators, aren't they? They create and they score. So you have to give players opportunities to do that, and like say, let them make mistakes, give them positions where they can stand the ball, express themselves, and try new things. You look at, like, say, Foden's a great example, Kevin De Bruyne, De Silva, those players. Like, look at Odegaard, Arsenal. Like, what a creator. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, so good on the ball, understanding when to pass and when to dribble, of course. But obviously that takes time. Do you know what I mean? So, if you're constantly saying, get rid of pass it, play forward, play percentages, then obviously when are they young players getting the chance to do that and develop those skills and build those attributes? So I think that's really important to think about. Wind it back. Remember, if you're a 9, 10s, 11s coach, what's the priority here? The priority is to help these young players be as good as they can, to enjoy the game and do that. And that's what those players would love to do, aren't they? Going into those small-sided games and express themselves and having that freedom to do that.
I think we have to remember we're a bit like the Pied Piper as well. So the players will follow your lead. I'll give you an example. It was in a game, and it sounds crazy to encourage us, but then after the game, I said to the young lad, I said, do you know Wayne Rooney has scored from the halfway line and Harry Kane 2 or 3 times each in their career? I said, I bet you if you go back and watch videos and watch the games properly on YouTube and you just watch them, I bet they was looking up to lob the goalie at least 50 times in their career. So I noticed in a game, I pulled the forward, so I said, have you noticed the goalkeeper's position? He's out the box. And he's like, no. I said, well, you need to notice that stuff. You need to start looking for that stuff. You just wherever you are on the pitch, if you're a number 9, I'm trying to say to him, so if you're a number 9, a proper goal scorer, you think about scoring goals like Harry Kane when you're asleep, when you wake up, at the breakfast table, everything else distracts you, like if you're a proper obsessed goal scorer. So when you're on the pitch, when you're out on the left wing, look up, see if the goal is there. When you're in the centre, so I ain't saying to this player, shoot every time from the halfway line, but I'm saying, I'll give you permission. If you see him off the line, next time the ball comes to you, try and get yourself position, have a go. And then he's shooting, everyone will think he's mad, and you might hear the groans, what are you shooting from there for? I'm quietly saying, well done, Sam. Because if we're not encouraging that audacity and the creativity to see the guy off the line, we can encourage that. I think we can skillfully encourage that. Do you know what I mean? Or, I don't know, so last 5 minutes of the game, you might see that players on the defence are really, really tired, and your winger is fresh and vibrant, and you just say to them, look how tired they are. Have you noticed what Messi does? He's noticed they're tired, go for them. Next 3 times you get on this ball, just go for them. The passing ain't worked today, son. Go on, just take them all on. It might work, it might not, but we're in command of that in terms of what we're encouraging and what we're trying to provoke, that creativity and audacity in their game. Do you know what I mean? And courage. So it's all about courage, mate, isn't it? Do you want to take the ball? When you foul, have you got the courage to step up and do it again? And I really do think they're traits and stuff that we can coach and encourage in the players, mate, skillfully.
Yeah, I think that's what you just said. There's a key. Like, you want the courage on the ball, call that bravado. What new players who can take control. You like you say, I can go and win this game. I can go and break this line. I'm going to go. You want every player to have that, intent and that ability. I think that just takes a long time. That takes a lot of patience, and to create that and create those systems to do that. But you have to be brave, and maybe you're, like I say, it's not about ego. That's easy to say. Fair enough, not coaching a team, but say I'm going to take a little bit longer with these guys, and let them do that.
Yeah, and I had a lovely little moment recently. So I was taking a game with one of our under-18s groups, and we was a bit of a car crash first 30 minutes. We was 3-0 down. and then it went to 4-1. We changed it about a bit. And anyway, we got it back to 4-4. And in one of them moments in a game where you get feel for it, we just got so much momentum. It's like, listen, we ain't come this far from being 3-0 down in 20 minutes and 4-1 down with 20 minutes to go to get it back to 4-4 in the 90th minute. And it was a lovely little moment, right? One of the lads that used to be with us at the academy at Spurs, and he got released at 12-13. We get a corner. And I know why it meant a lot to him, because he kind of looked over like a little bit nervous. No, you're responsible for this. Step up. I don't care if you're only 16 years old, blah, blah, blah. Step up. A bit like Beckham. People underestimate David Beckham as the match winner. When everyone talks about Solskjaer's winning goal and Sheringham, Solskjaer has won it. Yeah, but Beckham delivered it. Beckham took a deep breath, 2 corners in a row in a 96. So he's took this corner, so in the 95th minute, and he's put in a fantastic delivery, great height, and it's got the first contact, got the second contact. Anyway, we win, 95th minute. He don't even score the goal, but he's got the biggest celebration because, again, Ward-Prowse, it takes nerve, it takes temperament to hit the ball in the correct area like Trent Alexander-Arnold. So it doesn't matter if it's a corner or a penalty in the last minute like Harry Kane. Because Harry Kane missed against France, but believe me, I really believe, like Stuart Pearce, Kane will have a moment of redemption. Kane, somewhere in his career, will be in a Champions League final for Bayern or a World Cup final for England, and he will turn up with a free kick or a penalty when his country needs him. And that all comes down to nerve. And I know the kid was nervous, Saul. I know he was nervous. I know he was like, oh, shit, I might shank this and hit it on the near post, excuse the language. But do you know what I mean? But he took it, and it was a big moment for him. It was like, do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you're playing semi-pro football, pro football. You need the nerve. You need the courage to dare to foul. And I think that's one of the biggest things, in my opinion, with all of this stuff, if I'm honest.
That's a great point. Dare to fail. And obviously, if you don't give players the opportunity to do that and encourage them to do that, then you've got no chance, right? Listen, Glenn, I know that's going to tie up there. It's been emotional, as they say. Cheers, pal. Appreciate it. It's good to have you. Good to be back. And see you guys next time. Cheers, Glenn.
Cheers, mate.